Jnana-kosha, Vedas, Samavedam, by pact. Jnana-kosha, a Sastrapedia of Vedic knowledge, Upanishads, Samaveda based Upanishads.
ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपवज्रवत्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणान् ब्रह्मणस्पतकान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः
Samaveda based Upanishads, Chandogya Upanishads, third chapter. This chapter has 19 kandas. First 11 kandas deal with upasana of sun, and this upasana is known as Madhu Vidya. Kanda 12 and 13 teach Brahmana through Gayatri. 14th kanda elaborates famous meditation Sandilya Vidya, known after its revealer, the sea Sandilya. This kanda describes the Atman in terms of grain. This Atman, which dwells in the heart, is smaller than a grain of rice, smaller than a grain of barley, smaller than a grain of mustard, smaller than a grain of millet, smaller than the germ which is in the grain of millet. This Atman, which dwells in the heart, is also greater than the earth, the sphere of gross manifestation, greater than the atmosphere, the sphere of subtle manifestation, greater than the sky, the sphere of formless manifestation, greater than all the worlds together, that is beyond all manifestation, being the unconditioned. 15th kanda describes Kosha Vidya for begetting long life and bellow for one's son. 16th and 17th kandas detail Purusha Vidya, which results in increased lifespan of practitioner. It is told that Sri Mahidasa Aitreya lived for 116 years by practicing Purusha Vidya. 18th kanda ordains that mind should be meditated as Brahman. Om, the yonder sun indeed is the honey of the gods. Of this honey, heaven is the cross beam, the sky is the honeycomb, and the water particles in the rays are the eggs. The eastern rays of that sun are its eastern journey cells. The ricks are the bees. The ritual of the Rig Veda is the flower, and those waters are the nectar. Those very ricks, the bees, pressed this Rig Veda. From it, thus pressed, issued forth as juice, fame, splendor of limbs, alertness of the senses, virility, and food for eating. That juice flowed forth, it settled by the side of the sun. Verily, this it is that appears as the red hue of the sun, and its southern rays are its southern honey cells. The Yajus verses are the bees. The Yajur Veda is the flower, and those waters are the nectar. Those very Yajus verses pressed this Yajur Veda, and from it thus pressed issued forth as juice, fame, splendor of limbs, alertness of the senses, virility, and food for eating. It flowed forth, it settled by the side of the sun. Verily, this it is that appears as the white hue of the sun, and its western rays are its western honey cells. The summons are the bees. The Samaveda is the flower, and those waters are the nectar. Those very summons pressed this Somaveda and Samaveda. From it, thus pressed, issued forth as juice, fame, splendor of limbs, alertness of the senses, virility, and food for eating. It flowed forth, it settled by the side of the sun. Verily, that it is that appears as the black hue of the sun, and its northern rays are its northern honey cells. The mantras of the Atharva Veda are the bees. The Itihasas and the Purana are the flower, and those waters are the nectar. Those mantras of the Atharva Veda pressed this Itihasa Purana. From it thus pressed issued forth as juice, fame, splendor of limbs, alertness of the senses, virility, and food for eating. It flowed forth, it settled by the side of the sun. Verily, this it is that appears as the deep black hue of the sun, and its upper rays are its upper honey cells. The secret teachings are the bees. Brahman, Pranava is the flower. Those waters, the results of the meditations on the Pranava, are the nectar. Those secret teachings pressed this Pranava. From it, thus pressed, issued forth as juice, fame, splendor of limbs, alertness of the senses, virility, and food for eating. It flowed forth, it settled by the side of the sun. Verily, this it is that appears as the covering in the middle of the sun. Verily, these hues are the juice of the juices, for the Vedas are the essence, and these are their essence. These hues indeed are the nectar of the nectars, for the Vedas are the nectar, and these are their nectar. That which is the first nectar, that verily Vasus enjoy with Agni as their leader. The gods indeed neither eat nor drink, only with seeing this nectar are they satisfied. They enter into this very form, and out of this form they emerge. He who knows thus this nectar becomes one of the Vasus, and with Agni as the leader is satisfied only with seeing this nectar. He enters into this very form, and out of this form he emerges. As long as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, so long does he retain the sovereignty, and the heavenly kingdom of are similar to that of the Vasus. And that which is the second nectar, the white form, that verily the Rudras enjoy with Indra as their leader. The gods indeed neither eat nor drink, only with seeing this nectar are they satisfied. They enter into this very form, and out of this form they emerge. He who knows thus this nectar becomes one of the Rudras, and with Indra as the leader is satisfied only with seeing this nectar. He enters into this very form, and out of this form he emerges. As long as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, even twice so long does he rise in the south and set in the north, and even so long does he retain the sovereignty and heavenly kingdom of the Rudras. And that which is the third nectar, the black form, that verily the Adityas enjoy with Varuna as their leader. The gods indeed neither eat nor drink, only with seeing this nectar are they satisfied. They enter into this very form, and out of this form they emerge. He who knows thus this nectar becomes one of the Adityas, and with Varuna as the leader is satisfied only with seeing this nectar. He enters into this very form, and out of this form he emerges. As long as the sun rises in the south and sets in the north, even twice so long does he, the sun, rise in the west and set in the east, and even so long does he retain the sovereignty and the heavenly kingdom of the Adityas. And that which is the fourth nectar, the deep black color, that verily the Marus enjoy with Soma as their leader. The gods indeed neither eat nor drink, only with seeing this nectar are they satisfied. They enter into this very form, and out of this form they emerge. He who knows thus this nectar becomes one of the Maruts, and with Soma as the leader is satisfied only with seeing this nectar. As long as the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, even twice so long does he rise in the north and set in the south, and even so long does he retain the sovereignty and the heavenly kingdom of the Maruts. And that which is the fifth nectar, the quivering form within the sun, that verily the Sandhyas enjoy with Pranava as their leader. The gods indeed neither eat nor drink, only with seeing this nectar are they satisfied. They enter into this very form, and out of this form they emerge. He who knows thus this nectar becomes one of the dhyas, and with Pranava as the leader is satisfied only with seeing this nectar. As long as the sun rises in the north and sets in the south, even twice so long does he, the sun, rise in overhead and set below, and even so long does he retain the sovereignty and the heavenly kingdom of the sadhyas. Then rising from there upward, he will neither rise nor set. He will remain alone in the middle. There is this verse about it. Never does this happen there. Never did the sun set there, nor did it rise. O gods, by this my assertion of the truth, may I not fall from Brahman. Verily for him the sun neither rises nor sets. He who thus knows this secret of the Vedas, for him there is perpetual day. Hiranyagarbha imparted this doctrine of honey to Prajapati, Prajapati to Manu, and Manu to his progeny. And the father told his eldest son, Uddalaka, Aruni, this very knowledge of Brahmana. A father may declare to his eldest son or to any other worthy disciple this very knowledge of honey, and not to any one else, even if one should offer him this sea-girt earth filled with wealth. This doctrine is certainly greater than that. This certainly is greater than that. Gayatri indeed is all this. Whatever being exists, speech indeed is Gayatri. For speech indeed sings and removes fear of all this that exists. That which is this Gayatri, even that is this earth. For on this earth are all beings established, and they do not transcend it. That which is this earth as Gayatri, even that is this body in respect of this person, for these senses are indeed established in this body, and they do not transcend it. That which is the body in respect of a person, even that is identical with the heart within this body, for these senses are indeed established in it, and they do not transcend it. This well-known Gayatri is four-footed and six-fold. The Gayatri Brahman is thus expressed in the following riff. Such is the greatness of this Brahman called Gayatri. The person is even greater than this. All this world is a quarter of him. The other 3/4 of his constitute immortality in heaven. That which is designated as Brahman, even that is this Akasa outside the body. That which is the Akasa outside the body, even that is the Akasa inside the body. That which is the Akasa inside the body, even that is this Akasha within the lotus of the heart. This Brahman is all filling and unchanging. He who knows Brahman thus gets all filling and unchanging prosperity. Of the said heart there are indeed 5 doors guarded by the gods. He who is in that which is the eastern door of this is Prana. He is the eye, he is the sun. This Brahman called Prana should be meditated upon as brightness and as the source of food. He who meditates thus becomes resplendent and an eater of food. And he who is in that which is the southern door of this heart is Vyana. He is the ear, he is the moon. This Brahman called Vyana should be meditated upon as prosperity and fame. He who meditates thus becomes prosperous and famous. And he who is in that which is the western door of this heart is Apana. He is speech, he is fire. This Brahman called Apana should be meditated upon as the holy effulgence born of sacred wisdom and as the source of food. He who meditates thus becomes radiant with the holy effulgence born of sacred wisdom and also an eater of food. and he who is in that which is the northern door of this heart is Samana. He is the mind, he is Prajanya, the rain god. This Brahman called Samana should be meditated upon as fame and grace. He who meditates thus becomes famous and graceful. And he who is in that which is the upper door of this heart is Udana. He is the air, he is the Akasha. This Brahman called Udana should be meditated upon as strength and nobility. He who meditates thus becomes strong and noble. These verily are the 5 persons under Brahman, the sentinels of the heavenly world. He who adores these 5 persons under Brahman, the sentinels of the heavenly world, in his family is a hero born. He who adores thus these 5 persons under Brahman, the sentinels of the heavenly world, reaches the heavenly world. Again the light of Brahman that shines above this heaven, above everything, above all in the incomparably good and the highest worlds, even this is the light within the body of man. This light can be seen inasmuch as one has a perception of warmth. When one touches the body, it can be heard. In as much as on closing the ears, one hears something like the sound of a chariot, or the bellowing of a bull, or the sound of a blazing fire. One should meditate on the light as seen and heard. One who meditates on this thus becomes beautiful and illustrious. One who meditates this. Verily, all this universe is Brahman. From him do all things originate. Into him do they dissolve, and by him are they sustained. On him should one meditate in tranquility. For as is one's faith, such indeed one is, and as is one's faith in this world, such one becomes on departing hence. Let one therefore cultivate faith. He who is permeating the mind, who has prana for his body, whose nature is consciousness, whose resolve is infallible, whose own form is like Akasha, whose creation is all that exists, those are all the pure desires, who possesses all the agreeable orders and all the pleasant tastes, who exists pervading all this, who is without speech and other senses, who is free from agitation and eagerness. This my Atman, residing on the lotus of the heart, is smaller than a grain of paddy, than a barley corn, than a mustard seed, than a grain of millet, or than the kernel of a grain of millet. This my Atman, residing in the lotus of the heart, is greater than the earth, greater than the sky, greater than heaven, greater than all these worlds. He whose creation is all that exists, whose are all the pure desires, who possesses all the agreeable odors and all the pleasant tastes, who exists pervading all this, who is without speech and other senses, who is free from agitation and eagerness, he is my Atman, residing in the lotus of the heart. He is Brahman, on departing hence I shall attain to his being. He alone who possesses this faith and has no doubt about it will obtain the result. Thus declared Chandogya, Chandogya. The chest, having the sky as its hollow and the earth for its curved bottom, does not decay. The quarters are indeed its corners, and heaven its upper lip. This well-known chest is the container of wealth. All things rest in it. Of that chest, the eastern quarter is named Juhu, the southern is named Sahamana, the western is named Ragni, and the northern is named Subhuta. The air is their calf. He who knows this air, the calf of the quarters, thus as immortal, never sweeps in mourning for his son. I wishing my son's longevity, worship thus this air, the calf of the quarters. May I never weep to mourn my son. I take refuge in the imperishable chest for such and such and such. I take refuge in prana for such and such and such. I take refuge in Vuhu for such and such and such. I take refuge in Vuhua for such and such and such. I take refuge in Swaha for such and such and such. When I said I take refuge in prana, it was because of all these beings whatsoever exist are indeed prana. So it was in this alone that I took refuge. Then when I said I take refuge in Bhu, I said only this: I take refuge in the earth, I take refuge in the sky, I take refuge in heaven. Then when I said I take refuge in Bhuhava, I said only this: I take refuge in fire, I take refuge in air, I take refuge in the sun. Then when I said I take refuge in Swaha, I said only this: I take refuge in the Rig Veda, I take refuge in the Yajur Veda, I take refuge in the Samaveda. That was what I said. Man truly is the sacrifice. His first 24 years are the morning libation, for the meter Gayatri is made up of 24 syllables, and the morning libation is related to the Gayatri meter. With this, the Vasus are connected. The pranas indeed are the Vasus, for they make all this stable. During this period of life, if anything causes him pain, he should repeat, O pranas, Vasus, unite this morning libation of mind with the midi libation. May I, whom am I sacrificed, not be lost in the midst of the Vasus, who are the pranas. He surely recovers from that and becomes healthy. Now his next 44 years are the midday libations, for the meter Tristub is made up of 44 syllables, and the midday libation is related to the Tristub meter. With this, the Rudras are connected. The pranas indeed are the Rudras, for they cause all this universe to weep. During this period of life, if anything, illness causes him pain, he should repeat, O pranas, Rudras, unite this midday libation of mine with the third libation. May I, who am I a sacrifice, not be lost in the midst of the Rudras, who are the pranas. He surely recovers from that and becomes healthy. Then his next 48 years are the third libation. The meter Jagati is made up of 48 syllables, and the third libation is related to the Jagati meter. With this, the Adityas are connected. The pranas indeed are the Adityas, for they accept all this. During this period of life, if anything causes him pain, he should repeat, O pranas, Adityas, extend this third libation of mine to a full length of life. May I, who am I a sacrifice, not be lost in the midst of the Adityas, who are the pranas. He surely recovers from that and becomes healthy. Knowing this well-known doctrine of sacrifice, Aitreya Mahidasa said, Why do you afflict me thus, me who cannot be so killed? He lived for the 116 years. He too who knows thus lives in vigor for 116 years. That he who performs the Purusha sacrifice feels hunger, that he feels thirst, that he does not rejoice, all these are the initiatory rites of this sacrifice. And that he eats, and that he drinks, that he rejoices, all these approach Upanisjad. And that he laughs, that he eats, that he behaves as one of a couple, all these approach Stotra and Shastra. And this austerity, gifts, uprightness, non-violence and truthfulness, all these are the largesses of this sacrifice. Therefore people say, Sosyasati will procreate, and Asosata has procreated. Again, that is the procreation of this, and death is the Abharvita bath. Ghor Angirasa expounded this well-known doctrine to Devaki's son Krishna and said such a knower should at the time of death repeat this trident: Thou art the imperishable, Thou art unchangeable, Thou art the subtle essence of prana. On hearing the above, he became thirstless. There are these two strangers in regard to this. Those knowers of Brahman who have purified their mind through the withdrawal of the senses and other means like brahmacharya, see everywhere the day like the supreme light of the ancient one who is the seed of the universe, the light that shines in the effulgent Brahman. May we, too, having perceived the highest light which dispels darkness, reach it. Having perceived the highest light in our own heart, we have reached that highest light which is the dispeller of water, rays of light, and the pranas, shining in all gods. We have reached that highest light. The mind is Brahman, thus one should meditate. This is the meditation with regard to the body, including the mind. Next, the meditation with regard to the gods. The Akasa is Brahman, thus one should meditate. Both the meditations with regard to the body and with regard to the gods are being enjoined. This same Brahman has 4 feet. The organ of speech is 1 foot. Prana, the organ of smell, is 1 foot. The eye is 1 foot and the ear is 1 foot. This is with reference to the body. Next, with reference to the gods, Agni is 1 foot, Vayu is 1 foot, Aditya is 1 foot, and Kotas are the 1 foot. Thus, both the meditations with reference to the body and with reference to the gods are enjoined. The organs of speech is one of the 4 feet of Brahman, called mind. With the light of fire it shines and warms. He who knows thus shines and warms with fame and celebrity, and with the holy effulgence born of sacred wisdom. The organ of smell is one of the 4 feet of Brahman. With the light of air it shines and warms. He who knows thus shines and warms with fame and celebrity, and with the holy effulgence born of sacred wisdom. The eye is one of the 4 feet of Brahman. With the light of the sun it shines and warms. He who knows this shines and warms with fame and celebrity, and with the holy effulgence born of sacred wisdom. The ear is one of the 4 feet of Brahman. With the light of the quarters it shines and warms. He who knows thus shines and warms with fame and celebrity, and with the holy effulgence born of sacred wisdom. He who knows thus. The sun is Brahman. This is the teaching. The further explanation of this is here given. Before creation, this universe was non-existent. Then it became existent. It grew. It turned into an egg. It lay for a period of 1 year, and then it burst open. Of the 2 halves of that eggshell, one was of silver and the other of gold. Of these, that which was of silver is this earth, that which was of gold is heaven. That which was the outer membrane of the mountains, that which was the inner membrane is the mist together with the clouds. Those which were the veins are the rivers, that which was the water is the lower belly, is the ocean. And that which was born in the yonder sun, after he was born, sounds of the form of loud shouts arose, as also be all beings and all desired objects. Therefore, at his rise and his every return of his setting, sounds of the form of loud shouts arise, as also all beings and all desired objects. He who knows the sun thus and meditates on it as Brahman, auspicious sounds will hasten to him and continue to delight him. He will continue to delight.